The president likes to talk about America first, but in reality, America first has been America alone. My message to Ukrainians is that this administration does not speak for every American. We will fight against that with everything we've got. NATO is an extremely important alliance for the United States. We need our friends, we need our partners, whether in Europe or throughout the world.
A few weeks ago, JD Vance said he's proud to end the assistance to Ukraine. Why does the US vice president take pride in something that weakens Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russia's war of aggression?
I first want you to know how most members of Congress continue to stand with Ukraine and with the extraordinary heroism and bravery of the Ukrainian people. We know that your sovereign nation was attacked by Putin. We do not stand with Putin. We stand with Ukraine. And we are, of course, a very diverse democracy with a wide variety of viewpoints. But just know that the vice president does not speak for all Americans, does not speak for members of Congress across the ideological spectrum, and certainly does not speak for me. What I have observed, again, over the last couple of years is extraordinary bravery and heroism by the Ukrainian people against overwhelming odds and in extraordinarily difficult circumstances. And we want for Ukraine to succeed in being able to maintain a free and just society.
Despite a year of efforts, more than a year of efforts, the US-led peace negotiations in Ukraine have effectively stalled. What do you think was the main flaw in the Trump administration's approach and what it should have done, what it should do differently?
It seems as though the Trump administration, and specifically the president, has sought to appease Putin's demands at varying times, criticizing President Zelensky. Of course, we remember the famous encounter, I believe, in February, March of last year. And that was truly unfortunate. And I'm glad to see that Zelensky and Trump have improved things since then. But again, um, I do think that it's important for the average Ukrainian to understand that you do have a majority in the United States House of Representatives that stands with you, that supports the Ukrainian people, and that is committed to working with the NATO alliance to ensure that this war is ended as soon as possible and that the peace and the freedom of every Ukrainian can be returned.
During the war in Iran, Ukraine offered assistance with drone defenses, and yet President Trump said that Zelensky is the last person he needs assistance from. Why do you think he reacted in this way?
I would attribute it to hubris, to ego. I think that Ukraine has, there's an old expression that necessity is the mother of invention. And I think that the Ukrainians have been extraordinarily ingenious in figuring out how to use drones to fight drones. Currently, the United States, of course, we shoot down drones that might be, $20,000 or $30,000. We'll spend millions of dollars with missiles shooting down drones that cost tens of thousands of dollars. Clearly, the Ukrainians have, again, because of necessity, figured out innovative and ingenious ways to be able to fight drones for far less money. And I think we'd be well served to understand and to try to take whatever lessons we can from the Ukrainian strategy and apply it to the war in Iran.
We've heard repeatedly from the Trump administration that the war in Ukraine is primarily Europe's responsibility. What would you say to Americans who agree with this point of view?
I always think about my own grandfather. So my grandfather was from Eastern Europe. His parents from Poland and at least one from what is modern day Ukraine. Back then was not Ukraine, but today is. And I will tell you that his generation, my grandfather's generation, they fought in World War II to end fascism and oppression and to restore peace and stability, but also to create a new rules-based international order where America is a global leader and a trusted partner. And I worry that that trust and that confidence in America is being frayed by a very different approach from this administration. But again, my message to Ukrainians is that this administration does not speak for every American. This administration obviously has strong opinions, but those opinions are contradictory to much of what has made America such a strong leader around the world for the last 80 years, which is, again, we are a trusted friend and partner. My great hope and expectation is we can get back to trust and confidence in the international community. I know it won't be easy and it won't happen overnight because once you breach trust, it's hard to earn it back. But I do hope in time that America does earn the world's trust again, and we're not seen as going it alone. The president likes to talk about America first, but in reality, America first has been America alone. We need our friends, we need our partners, whether in Europe or throughout the world. And of course, we are much stronger, both diplomatically and economically, when we've got strong alliances, whether it's NATO or whether it's our friends and partners around the world.
Until quite recently, the Pentagon has been holding up about 400 million in assistance for Ukraine, even though the sum was already approved by Congress. What does this say about how much leverage Congress actually has over foreign and defense policy?
Well, it's an excellent question. And I will tell you, as a member of the House Appropriations Committee, that I am really frustrated because ultimately what happens is once the Congress appropriates the funding, the administration is not allowed to withhold that funding unless there's a very specific process called rescission. But that requires a vote of the Congress again. And instead, what the administration has done is just decided to unilaterally withhold funds, as you correctly said. Normally, the way that the founders intended for our system of checks and balances to work in the United States, the Congress would push back. Under Article 1 of our Constitution, the legislative branch has the power of the purse, and we as legislators would fight. And we will, if we have the opportunity and we have the gavels, we win the majority in about 6 months, we will fight to uphold Congress as a co-equal branch of government, as our Constitution requires. What has happened is you have Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, who has basically decided that in order to remain as Speaker, in order to not be thrown out, you may remember Kevin McCarthy. Kevin McCarthy, who preceded Mike Johnson as Speaker, was thrown out by some very right extreme people. And, you know, one of the reasons was that he dared work with us to help fund our friends in Ukraine. And that was, you know, considered some great sin for McCarthy. So I think Johnson is very cognizant of the politics internally and has prioritized survival over actually standing up for Congress as a co-equal branch of government. That's deeply distressing, and it's really without modern precedent. And I think that as a result, Johnson has been the weakest speaker that we've had in some time. And of course, that has had all sorts of reverberation, not just for Ukraine and the conflict there, but all sorts of decisions that the administration has been making unilaterally. The war in Iran, for example, the US law and constitution requires the Congress to declare war, not the president by himself. Congress has not been given a vote on the war in Iran, even though the Constitution under Article 1, Section 8 and the law under the War Powers Act of 1973 is crystal clear that this war is now unauthorized, and now, you know, well over 2 months have gone by.
Can we expect that Congress will be more capable in reining in Trump's foreign security policy if the Democrats win in the midterms? And can you speak a bit more about like how exactly can they rein in Trump's policy?
The short answer is yes. And of course, now nothing is happening to rein in the administration. So I think even if the Democratic controlled House and Senate would not be able to change everything, I think we would make a big impact. We would be able to hold hearings and issue subpoenas, and we would have control over the purse strings, and we would exercise our constitutional right and responsibility to conduct oversight, to ensure accountability, and to make sure that we're adhering to the Constitution, which includes war powers and includes the power of appropriations.
How do you view your Republican colleagues who still support Ukraine? Do you think they're doing enough to show the support to push back against how President Trump handles the war in Ukraine?
Well, I'm encouraged that there are still those on the Republican side willing to speak up and stand up for Ukraine. I am concerned that they are not being vocal enough, and I understand many of them are worried about their own politics, their own primary against somebody that is further to the MAGA side of the Republican Party. I thank those courageous members on the other side. I won't name them because they might get in trouble if I name them.
And what about the Democratic Party? Do you think that Democrats have done enough to push back against Trump policies? Should the Democrats do more?
I hope that the average American can see that we're pushing back with every tool that we have, whether it's legislation or litigation or communication. I think I'm on about 40 or 50 different lawsuits trying to prevent different administration actions from occurring. We've pushed back in every way that every tool in the toolkit that we've got, and ultimately the voters will have to give us the power that we will need to push back even harder. So can you always do more? Of course. I mean, every morning you wake up and you ask, what can you do to try to push back and to try to stand up for checks and balances in the institution of the Congress. But every day that goes by, when you go to sleep, you do the best you can every day, and you hope that you did a good job that day. I imagine it's just the same in Ukraine.
In the past few months, we've seen some unprecedented ruptures within the transatlantic relations. Trump and European allies clashed on Greenland, on Iran. More recently, the president announced that the US would withdraw about 5,000 troops from Germany. Do you think that after Trump leaves office, that the transatlantic relations can still be mended? Or do you think that some of the damage is already irreversible?
I hope that the damage can be mended. I think it mostly can be. I do, though, understand that there are many countries around the world who historically have looked to the United States for leadership, who now may feel that they need to look to others as a backup in case the Americans are not able or not willing to lead in the manner that they have for the last 80 years. But I think that just as it's taken a couple years to harm these relationships, I think it'll take a couple years to repair them, but I think they mostly can be repaired. And again, my point at the outset, I think I want to make again, which is that the president and his agenda is not reflective of the vast majority of Americans who want to be a good and trusted partner in the world. And I think that, so long as the average person around the world understands that about America, that we're a kind and compassionate country that is not being reflected by the rhetoric or the actions of this president in many ways. I think that's important perspective. If you just consider, um, the actions of a country by the actions of one person, or if you get your impression of a country by the impression of one person, I don't think that's a fair characterization.
Speaking of Trump's relationship with NATO, quite recently he even threatened to leave the alliance. Do you think that this is a realistic possibility that the US would leave NATO either formally or de facto somehow under the Trump administration?
We will fight against that with everything we've got. NATO is an extremely important alliance for the United States and for the free world, and it has served, again, all its members well for decades. It's not perfect. NATO's not perfect. And I think that the international community understands the flaws, but also, we want reform, not to just end our relationship. And so I think it's very, very important that whoever the next president is will work with the international community, work with our friends in Europe and beyond, and stand up for freedom and democracy the world over. America, I've always felt, and I'm 47 years old, I've always felt that America was on the side of right and on the side of freedom and democracy. Even when I greatly disagreed with the President of the United States, George W. Bush, great example. I disagreed strongly with the need to go to war with Iraq, But at the end of the day, I did not feel as though the United States was acting in a manner that was inconsistent with our desire to see freedom and peace and democracy around the world. I disagreed with the tactics, but I felt that even President George W. Bush believed in the good of America in the world, the good of American influence in the world, not just going it alone. Again, this idea of America first really is America alone. And most Americans don't want to be alone. We understand that we are stronger economically, diplomatically, when we work with our allies and when we have that trust and confidence around the world.
Do you see the United States as the leader of the free world at the moment?
I understand why people might be suspicious of that, given some of the rhetoric from our president, but I can tell you that most Americans are kind and compassionate and decent people, and we want to see freedom and democracy the world over. So, to the extent we are not being considered the leader of the free world, I hope we will be considered that again in the not too distant future.
Hi, this is Martin Fornusek. I'm a reporter at the Kyiv Independent's National Desk, focusing on international and regional politics. If you enjoy this interview and want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. The link is in the description below. And if you want to support our work, please consider joining the community of our paying members at kyivindependent.com/membership. Thank you.